Well, hi, everybody. This is DearMamaSal, and we are live on a Sunday afternoon. I had to think about that. What day is it? A Sunday afternoon, which means it's time for us to talk about coping with stress. And I've got what I hope will be a fun program for you today. I had a viewer write to me and ask me about adult behavior. And what the viewer said to me was, how do I know if I'm being adult? And I thought that was a great question. And I said, hey, I like that question. And I'm going to use that in a broadcast. And so, what I wanted to do was to put together what I think is a fun group of questions for you to be able to answer. So, you may want to grab a piece of paper and a pencil so you can keep score if you like keeping score on things like this. On the other hand, there's no need for you to do that. It's just something that I think you might want to keep the link to this and revisit it every now and then, especially when you're going through a difficult time. Because one of the things that I found is when we remind ourselves of what adult behavior is, we're inclined to act better. And so I hope you enjoy it. I wanted to just say Happy Halloween now that I think about it. And I better dress up. I think I got that the wrong way, people. I can do this. There we go. So happy Halloween. And I don't think I'm going to be able to do a broadcast like that because I won't be able to read. So I'm going to go like that instead. And people are going to go, what is she doing? um, so the princess in me is now a happy camper. I think I'm going to put that farther forward. What do you think? Like a bit more there. There we go. And so now I can do my princess thing. I'm happy. I wanted to wish Kerry a happy birthday. I know it's her birthday today. And anybody else who might have a birthday today, please let me know if I don't already know, so that we can add it to our database. And if it's a special anniversary or anything like that, just let us know so we can have fair warning. And what I normally do is to get a birthday wish up for you. If you see me doing the I'm crying motion, it's not that. I have allergies and I just, it's one of those things. So, are we ready for the questions? Because I reckon it's probably going to take most of the broadcast. And I do have to get off the broadcast pretty smartly today because I need to go for somebody's birthday party. And I'm certain you'll understand that. So if I don't get all the questions asked, we'll do the rest of them another time, or who cares? Let's see how we do. All right, so pencil and paper if you like to score yourself. Not necessary if you don't want to. I know some personalities like to write things down. And so the first one is about your patience. All right. My first question is, how patient are you? Would you say would you say you are a patient person? That would be the question. Are you a patient person? And I mean patient no matter what is done, said, or inferred. Are you capable? Do you have the emotional intelligence to be able to think before you speak? I think that would. And when I say think, it's like process it. All right. Can you process it before you just blurt out things? All right. And I would just say give yourself 1 point if you believe you're pretty good at it, or give yourself half a point if you think you are fairly good at it. And that's about what we will do. What am I going to give myself? Actually, I think I do pretty well on that one. So I'm going to give myself a on that one. All right, Jody's saying, I love Jody's sense of humor. Hang on a second, everybody. She's saying she's working on patience, but it takes so long. So true, isn't it? All right. So here is the next one. Can you have a conversation with somebody who disagrees with you? Do you ask more questions when they disagree with you so you can understand their point of view? Or do you shut down? Or do you attack them or think they're stupid because they have a different point of view? Whatever. So give yourself 1 point if you think you're pretty good about having a conversation, even if people disagree. All right? That you are able to ask questions and seek more information. Remember what I always say, seek first to understand. And by the way, I really want to encourage you all, if you haven't seen it, do so. And if you have seen it, revisit it on an annual basis. The movie made about Mr. Rogers, I think A Wonderful Day in the Neighborhood, is a great primer on skills in terms of people not agreeing with you. And I think one of the greatest lines I took from it was when somebody said something about which he obviously totally disagreed. He smiled. That was a stunning thing. He smiled. He didn't get, he said, wow, now that's an interesting perspective. And you understand his voice was light. It wasn't attacking or whatever. And he held them, I thought, with such love. And I, for one, am going to make sure that I rewatch it. I'm not sure if it's on streaming yet, but if it is, it's definitely one of the lists on my list of things to rewatch over the Christmas time, other than the 648 Christmas movies that are on. Uh, because I really do believe it is a great, great skill primer for anybody who wants it. So how do I rate myself on my ability to have a conversation with somebody who disagrees with me? I think I'm not bad on that. All right, now then. This one is a bit challenging for some of us. All right, here we go. Do you badmouth people? Do you say nasty things about people? Especially when they're not around? Now, I know there's a fine line between venting, which is healthy, and bad-mouthing people. So venting is something that, it's just like an instant reaction to something. And I don't think I would count that as bad-mouthing. What do you think? Let's see if let's get an agreement on what we think about that. Bad-mouthing is when you yeah, Jody's saying I'm guilty of venting. Yes. Jody, I consider you to be a very fair person. Do you think that venting is bad-mouthing? What about what do you think? Do you think that venting, when you have that, I just need to vent for a second, is that bad-mouthing? I guess it is to some degree. All right, so I'm gonna give myself a lower score on that one. I tried very hard to find. Jody's saying no, it's not. Part of me goes, if it's in my head, then surely it is to some degree. Think about that. Let's be adults about that. Because if I were perfect, I wouldn't have those thoughts in my head, surely. That's a good discussion. Anybody else got any views on that one? Anybody who's watching in the background? I definitely can't give myself a full point on that one. I think I would have to say it can be valid. Yes. Oh, Isabel's saying venting is okay. All right. Well, all right. I tell you what. I think it's a personal choice, don't you? I'm not going to call anybody wrong. I'm going to say, you decide. Yeah. Isabel's saying, but it can. occur the bad mouthing. All right. So, and Jody's saying if it drags on and gets vicious, then it's bad mouthing. Okay. So score yourself the way that you understand it. Your way is the best way for you, right? So I have to admit that that one, I had to have a little bit of a reality check. All right. Ready for the next one? Do you assume that you know what people said or did? Do you assume that you know why people said or did something? Let me put it that way. Do you assume that you know? And I say that because it's something that I believe is very adult. Adults never assume the reasons of other people, that they're less noble than maybe yours are. So they seek first to understand. And they're inclined to turn the mirror and see things from both sides, or maybe even all sides, before they assume something. So, do you have the courage to check things out with somebody? If somebody says something and you think that for a split second you think that their intent is not good, do you have the courage to be able to pick up a phone and say, hey, I know you said X, Y, and Z, but I want to just double check with you. Um, I, I just want to understand what your thinking was behind that. So think about that one. I'm going to see, do I assume? Mm, I wish I were perfect on that one, but I'm not. You know, make your own decision on that one. By the way, I've been doing quotes this weekend about building trust. So here's the first one for today. Trust takes years to build, seconds to break, and forever to repair. Isn't that true? Yeah, trust is a very important thing in life. And we all are human, and we all have had stories, I'm sure, in our lives that where we have broken a trust, be it accidentally, but we have done it. And it's really important that you understand that it's one of the greatest things. I was talking on Friday about trustworthiness, and how we need to continue to improve our trustworthiness if possible. So think about that. And another one here is, um, breaking someone's trust is like crumpling up a perfect piece of paper. You can smooth it over, but it's never again going to be the same again, unless you have great love, I think. I want to add that because I do believe that there are many instances where people have broken a trust, but they've been forgiven and they never broke that trust again. So again, I like to see that from both sides. All right, how about this question? Some of you are really good on this one. Uh, how creative are you? Do you think outside the box? Do you see the possible most of the time, or do you see the impossible most of the time? I think that is a very emotionally intelligent question, if you know what I mean. It's like, are you able to see something, know that it's not working, and go, okay, what can I do? Within my budget, within my skill set, within my friends, within whatever, what can I do? And not beat up on yourself if it takes a long time or whatever. Work towards that perfect solution to you, or the best you can do. I did one this week, just so that you know, where I had a situation in my laundry room where it was really untidy, and you sort of see into the laundry room as you walk down my hallway because the door is always open. Now, one option is to keep the door closed, which what a lot of intelligent people do. But I don't like that. I don't know about you guys, but I think closed doors um, are not part of my life. It's not who I am. Now, isn't that interesting? So, as it is, that particular thing that you see was so difficult to tidy up. What I ended up doing, hang on, I think I can show you guys. Hang on. I've got those cubey things. I just want to see how far I can turn this before I break something. You can see those cubey things right there. And right. It's very difficult doing it backwards. No, so I'll do it the other way. But right there and there. So what I did was I actually yesterday, which is my fix it up day, I actually built more cubies and put them in the laundry room where all those things were looking untidy. And now I just have this very nice, clean look when I walk past it. And I cannot tell you how much joy that it's given me, but it's taken me 7 months to work out what I want to do with it. Is it perfect? Not yet. Not yet, but it'll do for now. It definitely looks a whole lot tidier. And I realize that part of my life is about how do I get things tidy. I took a lesson in a way. You remember we were talking to Beth not so long ago about what do you call it when everything looks perfect on a shelf. She stacks does wonderful arrangements on the store shelves and so forth. Frontage, I think is what it's called, or fronting, I think. And what I'm looking at is can I get everything away and a nice front to it? I still have the stuff, but they don't all have to be seen. Does that make sense? So that's what I'm working. This is my next sort of go around the house. Now that for those of you who don't know, I had a fire in my house and I moved back and I'm still haven't finished unpacking. But now what I'm doing is I don't want the clutter anymore. Can you believe that? I've lived happy with clutter for all my life, and suddenly it doesn't please me as much. Oh, before I forget, I was busy baking while I was getting ready for the broadcast, and I made the bread a bit crispy. Have any of you ever done that? I guess I was distracted with the preparing. This one is a little less, but they're both. So I wondered whether you all know what to do if that happens. Now I've got a number of options. Let me think. I've got one of these little tools that makes julienne vegetables in very small strips. Now, I could use that. All right, hang on, people. You're going to want to see this, right? Okay, here we go. Crispy bread. So one thing is to use this and just to quietly take some of it off because that's not working very well. I tell you what I use. I use sandpaper. Get the idea? Now, this is not coming off very easily. So maybe what we will do is try plan B. Plan B would be to grate it off. So obviously the burn was deeper than I meant it to be, or thought that it was. Getting there. Okay, beginning to look a lot better, right? There we go. All right, a lot more presentable than it was. What do you think? And this one was less, and now you can see the difference, right? So, okay, thought I would share that with you. You never thought to use sandpaper. Well, think outside the box. That was the discussion, right? And to me, normally, if it's just a light burn on something, I'm thinking something like a cookie or something. I've often, the bottom of it's been a little burned. Okay, so I thought I'd share that with you. And good to see Jeannie as well. Hi there. All right, so moving on to the next question. So did you rate yourself on how creative you are? Can you find a different solution? I tell you, it took me a long time to think about what's plan A. Plan A is sandpaper. Oh, that didn't work. What's plan B? Something stronger than sandpaper. What have I got? Let me use a grater. After that, actually a grater will do it all the way down. So I'm not too concerned about that. I can't believe I did that today, because it's for the person who's having a birthday. So never mind. And here's the next one. Do you waste your time and or energy on things you cannot change? How do you do on that one? Score yourself 1 point if you don't do that. If you're inclined to do it some of the time, maybe give yourself half a point. But think about that, all right? If you want to reduce, did I burn the bread? Yes, I did, Jeannie. I want you to think about that, all right? Which is, don't trouble yourself with matters that you truly cannot change. Now, here's the thing that I want to make sure we understand. If you feel strongly about something, it doesn't mean you shouldn't go out and protest it, all right? Because if you feel strongly enough to go out and protest, that's what democracy is all about. But the thing is this: don't spend your day worrying about things over which you have no control whatsoever. Do something about it or move on. Now, can you do something about some of the things? Let's say that we're talking climate change, right? Whoever thought that a teenager would be able to be on the world stage because she felt so strongly about the climate change? And Greta Thunberg, or whatever her name is, I got to admire her, all right? Here she is, and I'm pretty certain an awful lot of people would have said, "You don't have the right to speak out internationally." And she said, "Yes, I do," and did, and has. And really made an impact in a lot of places. So I'm not saying don't be that person. I'm saying if you feel that strongly, yes, you should be that person. But on the other hand, what I'm trying to say is if you're not going to do anything, then just take a deep breath and move on. You can say to yourself, hey, I don't like that. But then my next question to myself is, well, are you going to do anything about it? Not really, no. Okay, then move on. So much stress is removed. If I hear bad news about something, and I hear bad news quite often, I'm at an age where a lot of people in my life are getting bad news, and can I do anything about their bad news? Not really. 9 times out of 10. So what can I do? I cannot make myself sick worrying about it. That's what I can do. I can do everything I can to keep the spirits up, to do whatever, to hold their hand, to be there for them. But it's like the other side of it. No, I can't do it very much about that. And so to me, if you feel strongly enough about something, do something about it. By the way, if it's lawful in your country to do so, and I say that because not all of my viewers live in democracies. So make sure that if you're listening to this, make sure that you know whether your country allows, protest and so forth. Um, but, other than that, stop wasting your time on stuff that you cannot change. Get on with living. Get on with living a good life. Keep a copy of the Serenity Prayer, in your washroom. So you see it every time you go to the washroom. Remind yourself daily to understand the difference between the things that you can change and the things that you can't. And to understand the difference is I believe, being adult. Get on with living a good life, right? Think about that. Yes, Jeannie is saying the fire changed us. I understand much. Jeannie, I am sorry you had the fire, but boy, does that turn you into an adult in a hurry. Am I right? You realize that you've got to fight some battles and not others. You realize that the things you thought were so important to your life, if they disappear overnight, you can carry on. Most of it's emotional stuff. It's not real stuff. As I said, I found great humor when I had my fire. I actually burst out laughing a couple of times when I realized I did not run for my passport and my money. I ran for my laptop, my cell phone, my chargers, you know, and then worried about the other things. I found that really interesting. Yeah, and Jeannie's saying more about trying to change things or give up, and yeah, finding other solutions, being creative. Yes, I know that you've done a great job. Jeannie, uh, I believe that any major disaster, be it ill health, be it, um, a great loss of any sort, it builds different talents, doesn't it? I think about Erin living every day the way that she does, um, unable to move most of her body. Fighting that was useless for her. It is what it is. Yeah, and Jenny's saying when all else fails, pray, right? So don't waste your energy saying it's not fair. Don't waste your energy saying it shouldn't have happened. Or why did it happen to me? It's all time wasting stuff. Just go, it did. Okay, let me get on with it. Um, don't go there. So I'm glad that you can see that a lot of the aftermath of the fire, Jeannie, has given you other skills that you will obviously pass on to everybody that you know, because that is the ripple effect. I know that you've been really impressive in how you've coped with all of this. And you're an absolute role model for so many people, I'm sure, who know you. All right. So did I score myself on that one? I can't remember. Do you expect more from others? No, that wrong one. Here we go. Don't waste your energy. I think I'm pretty good on that one. Okay. So now then, here's the next one. You ready for this one? This one says, do you expect more from others than they are capable of? Do you expect more from other people than they are capable of? Do you judge others by, well, I would have done X, Y, and Z. Why didn't they? That's a famous one. That's pretty childish, right? Expect no more of anyone than they are capable of. And how do you know what they're capable of? They demonstrate it all the time. And so there's part of me that goes, be fair to others. Now, I've even had it where people have said to me, but Sal, we grew up in the same family. They learned the same things that I did. And I don't think that's necessarily true. What do you guys think? Is it possible to grow up in the same family and end up with totally different morals? Have you ever met a family where that's true? Where, some of the children turned out to be, upstanding citizens and one turned out to be a crook, right? So you're going, why? It wasn't their upbringing, all right? So we know that we can have exactly the same input, but we still might not have the same outcome. So do you expect more from others than they're capable of? And my attitude is, if they were capable of more, you'd be seeing it. Isabel's saying, I'm sorry, I have to leave, but I will listen to the replay. But so far, I'm not so adult. You know something? That tells me that you are adult, because only a non-adult would actually, only an adult would admit that is. But I'm glad that you're enjoying it. So I'm sorry that you have to go. We'll see you again soon. All right, so here we go. Do I expect more from others than they're capable of? Yeah, some of the time. Not all of the time, but some of the time I think I do. Okay. Happy Halloween to you, Is. I just want to get some more quotes up here. Truth starts with truth and ends with truth. Truth starts with truth and it ends with truth. But the question is, whose truth? Whose truth? Right? Have you noticed that two people can have totally different ideas and they both think it's true? So understand that there is more than one truth. And to me, that is a really difficult one. I remember saying that, I was part of an organization where the mandate was, is it true? In all that you say and do, is it true? And I remember saying to the powers that be, whose truth, yours or mine? Oh, it's the same. I said, no, it isn't. No, it's not. My experience in life is it's not true that it is true. The same with everybody. And they said, oh, Sal, you take things too literally. And I said, no, I don't. I don't at all. I see it for what it is. And what it is truth it's a bit like beauty, right? It's in the eye of the beholder. Yeah, Jeannie's saying, in terms of the last question, she said, I used to expect a lot, but not any longer. Yes, and therefore you have reduced your stress, Jeannie, right? When you don't expect as much of people, then you lower your stress level. Well done. I'm very pleased. By the way, I thought I'd give you an update. You know that I've got the air gliding thing, and I've been working on that. And I think I told you, for those of you who know my friend Yvonne, that she decided to get herself one of those stationary bikes. I just got a tweet from her before I went online, and she said, I went for a 5 kilometer bike ride last night and didn't leave my living room. So I thought that was really cute. And I'm so impressed. And she thanked me for the inspiration. But, now she's doing something and feeling good about it. All right. And I said to her, do everything you can not to turn that exercise bike into something that holds your spare clothes. Because I believe it said that 75% of all exercise type machines end up being used to hang clothes on. So I said to her, don't do that. Jeannie's saying, my brother and I were nothing alike. My dad was always frustrated that my brother wanted money and I learned to save. Yes, isn't it funny? All right. It's just like we're wired differently, Jeannie. And, I remember Yvonne with her son. Yvonne is OCD, and her son was a creative. You can imagine how difficult that was. And I kept saying to her, stop judging your son by your standards. All right. It's like he isn't OCD. He doesn't want everything perfect. He can live with chaos and you can't. And, she's thanked me for it many, many times because I didn't say it to her once or twice. Whenever she came up to vent, I'd listen and I'd smile and I go, mm-hmm. So you want him to be OCD like you? And, eventually she learned to laugh about it. And of course, once she learned to laugh at herself, then her stress about it went away. And he's doing great. All right, now this is going to be more difficult for some of you than others. Do you like to think you're right? Or do you allow for different interpretations of things? Can you see things from all sides before you react? All right. Can you not knee-jerk reaction to things? All right. That's like somebody says something and you immediately fight back. Can you go, let me take a step back for a second. Let me process. Let me make sure I understand. Let me make sure I know that they're probably a bit stressed out at the moment. And let me get control before I answer. I'm getting a lot better on that. I think I'm doing pretty well on that one at the moment. Not all days. How many of you are going, depends what day it is or what day of the month it is? Yeah. Yeah, I remember those days. Don't miss them at all. How about this one? Trust has to be earned and should come only from the passage of time. Yes, it's saying don't just trust people, let them earn your trust. All right, be careful who you trust and careful who you vent to. Yeah, hi, Sharon. Sharon's saying, I have to bite my tongue, but I can. Yes, as long as you can see that you are able to do it, give yourself a point. Now, I'm not saying, are you perfect at it all the time? Because that would be not being human. You'd be up in heaven with a halo and wings, right? If you're perfect at it all the time. But if you are pretty, aware that you have caught yourself and taken the time before you react, and if you're doing it more than you used to, give yourself a point. Sometimes you don't know who you can and cannot trust. I still learn that over and over again. How about you guys? Have you made a mistake on who people you thought you could trust and ended up finding out you couldn't trust them? And then do you beat up on yourself or do you just say, hey, yeah, I made the right call at the time. I just didn't know enough about that person and I now do. And I now know not to trust them. How about this? Trust yourself. You know more than you think you do. That's an interesting one, isn't it? I always like to do turn, and I like to turn the mirror a lot. If I don't know what to do, I go, if this was happening the other way around, what would I want somebody else to do? I like doing that. It gives me a lot of answers. All right, here's the next question. Are you ready? Do you laugh? Do you laugh at yourself frequently? Oh, yeah, I can definitely give myself a full point on that one. How many of you find yourself quite amusing? How many of you can laugh at your mistakes? How many of you know that when I took that bread out of the oven and I saw that it was a little bit more crispy than I'd intended, my first thing was, yeah, that's interesting. Um, and my second thought was, can I make it better? A little bit, yeah. um, yeah, Jeannie's saying about being right is like knowing there are many truths, not just mine. Absolutely. And that I think is a really sure um, marker that you are adults. If you can see that everybody has their own truth, I would say that's a major adult ability, wouldn't you? All right, here's the next one I came up with. Let me see how we do on this one. By the way, I didn't just pick the ones I thought I'd do well on. They would not be right. Um, here's the next one. It says, do you ask yourself what is right rather than who is right? Do the right thing. Do you do the right thing? Now, again, that's difficult because we know there are different interpretations of what is right. True? But do you do what is right in your eyes? Or do you rather think that I am right and they're wrong? I have, a situation where I've got people who think I am weak because I will not fight certain things. That's their right. I understand that's what they think. I know I am not a coward. I am pretty certain if I wrote down all the things I've done in my life, I'd probably do quite well on that scale of not being a coward. Do you understand what I'm saying? However, what they see makes them think that I am, but they don't have enough history and they don't have the same learning and so forth. So it's okay if they think that of me. I'm not going to waste my time trying to prove them wrong. I just keep doing what I think is right rather than follow somebody who thinks that they are right. Now, gets difficult, we know, when it gets political, because both sides will do what they think is right. However, I want to make sure that we talk more about this as we go back into that cycle, which is, let's remember to follow the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So understand they have a right. All right? They have a right to believe what they believe. It's really interesting to me that my sister gets upset because of some of my brother's views. And I'm going, I can hear it really upsets her. And I'm going, I don't agree with him, but I don't waste any energy on it. It's like he's entitled to his opinion. I'm a bit surprised. There are times when, I am really surprised, but, it's like, hey, he's entitled to his opinion. However, however wrong it may be, in my view. But I don't think, you know, you know what I mean? It's just like, hey, I love it that we live in a democracy where people can do these things. So do unto others. If somebody thought you were doing the wrong thing, what would you want them to do? Would you want them to hate you for it and never talk to you again? Or would you want them to say, hey, something, Jeannie, I don't agree with you on that. But hey, I uphold your right to think that way. You see, that I think is the difference, don't you? So I believe I have every right to say I don't agree with you. Because that's being authentic, that's being true. I'm not scared of conflict. That would be the question. Are you scared of conflict? So do you ask yourself what is right rather than who is right? And my sort of benchmark on that one is what is right for me, all right? That I perceive it to be right. So therefore, and this is important, I can have totally different views from a friend of mine and still love her to bits and sit down and have meals with her and love her. All right? Yes. Jeannie's got a very nice benchmark on this. She said, if I can look at myself in the mirror and see a decent person, I feel okay. That's a great question to ask yourself. Am I a decent person? Do I, do I do I exhibit that? I always say to people, you're entitled to have a few thoughts of your own inside. Just keep them to yourself. Then you're a decent person, right? Nice one, Jeannie. I like that. So did I mark myself on that one? Hi, Nyasha. Good to see you there. And by the way, Nyasha, thank you for the question. I'm certain everybody that's been answering these questions appreciates the fact you asked it. All right. So that one, do I ask myself what is right? Yes, I ask myself that all the time. All right, here we go. Are you ready, people? Here's the next question. Do you agree that no matter how certain you are, you might be wrong? Are you able to say those words to yourself? I am pretty certain I'm right, but I'm prepared to believe that I could be wrong. I've said this about, you remember the conversation about my brother taking the pills rather than the vaccine? And I keep saying, I don't like the fact that he took pills rather than the vaccines, but he doesn't like the fact I took the vaccines rather than the pills. And, 5 years from now, we will know that one of us was right. Quite honestly, right now, who knows? All right. We just have to do the best that we believe. It doesn't mean that he is totally wrong. And it doesn't mean that I'm totally right. Or my sister. Right? Do you understand? And it's really important to understand that everybody has a different viewpoint based on their upbringing and maybe the way their parents brought them up, their belief system as opposed to yours. Maybe there's still people that, don't grow with society as it grows. Maybe they're still stuck back in the 50s in their mind. You know what I mean? How many people have you heard, well, when I was your age, we weren't allowed to? Well, you're not that age. It's a different time now. And, I try very hard not to say to anybody that is younger than me, when I was your age, we used to do X, Y, and Z. I can say it in humor. Like we thought it was wonderful to have a boombox, which was about this big, and we could hold it on our shoulder and go walk down the street with music. And, you want to watch the young people just roll their eyes. You're going, but in the day, that was amazing. Truly amazing. A portable music box. I mean, hello. How good was that? You could put tapes in it and golly, can you remember? Oh, happy Halloween to you as well. Thank you. I just I couldn't find very much, but I thought I had to find something. Thank you, Nyasha. Happy Halloween to you as well. And by the way, I brought Skelly with me today as well. And by the way, I didn't know it, but Skelly has the ability to stretch. I stretched him out by accident. All right. So did you score yourself on that? No matter how certain you are, do you agree you might be wrong? Yeah, I'm pretty good about it. Don't like it much, but I'm pretty good about it. All right. So now then, this one you're probably going to roll your eyes at, but maybe not. But I need to put it in there because it's important. Have you given up blood sports? Now, I'm pretty certain that if you live in North America, on the whole, that would be an eye-rolling thing. You don't go fox hunting, probably. I can't imagine too many of my viewers going out to dog fights or going trophy hunting, in Africa, for a quick lion's tail or whatever. Or I can't imagine you going off to a bullfight and thinking that was fun. Yeah, you see, Jeannie's great sense of humor there, Jeannie. You're doing well. Jeannie's saying about the other question, absolutely. I could be wrong. I can be wrong, regardless of what I'm thinking right now, which is that I'm right. I love it. All right, so think about that. Have you given up all blood sports? Now, I don't know, but when I started to, in terms of what the question was, my answer is a big fat yes. All right. I don't participate in blood sports. But then, you know what I'm like? I then went, wait a minute, am I being fair? Am I being honest here? Because what I thought about was, with my sense of humor, I'm going, does it count about spiders? That I hunt down spiders and annihilate them? Or what about flies? Is that considered a blood sport? What about fruit flies? Um, so what do you think, as my viewers? What do you think? Do we consider spiders, flies, and fruit flies a blood sport? Now, have I ever caught a spider and said, you don't belong in my house, buddy, uh, and I'm taking you outside? Yes, I've done that. If I'm fast enough to catch a fly, I have done that as well. But they're pesky, aren't they? How many of you always wanted to do that thing? What was it in The Karate Kid? When he caught the fly with chopsticks. I always thought I would love to have that ability. All right, so I think we have to make our own judgment on that, which is, do I do it or not? Jeannie's saying, sad to say, her neighbor rarely gets tricks or treaters. I have candy ready. Yeah, I've got lots of candy ready, but it's for me. What can I say? I'm going to take some over to my neighbor because whenever I go over there, she's always got candy for me, but, and I'm not meant to eat it. And I always say to her, what sort of kindness is it that you know that I'm not meant to eat it, but every time I come to your house, you give me a bowl full of candy? And she says, because I know you love it. I go, yeah, that's true. But would a real friend not have that temptation in front of me? I don't know. But what I did was I bought a dirty great box of candy so I can give it to her and say, hey, this is for filling up Sal's bowl. Why should she pay for that? And she will tell me she pays for it because it's her labor of love. It's what she loves to do. And I'll just say then what I did is I didn't just get the candies I like. I got an assortment so she can share it with her grandchildren and things. All right, here we go. Now think about this one. Do you remember that your life belongs to others as well? If you are adults, you do not endanger it frivolously, and you never endanger the life of another. Yeah, I've given up that. I must admit there were times in my life when I did endanger my life. But I think I'm pretty good about understanding that it's not just me I hurt. And the converse is also true. And I want to say this, it's just my view, and maybe you have different views with your belief system. But I remember hearing somebody I love very dearly tell me that they um, were contemplating suicide. And I remember saying to them, "How selfish of you." And they said, "What?" And I said, "I just want to tell you that you will get out of dealing with your problems, but those of us who love you will have to deal with that for the rest of our lives." How selfish. Grow up, deal with your problems like the rest of us do. Yeah. Um, so, I don't believe that that is the answer, but just my belief. And luckily, that person woke up and didn't. So that was good. All right, so Jeannie is bringing up the point. I wondered if anybody would bring that up, Jeannie. And that's why I made the. Let me read what she said first, and then we'll go back. It was on a previous question. And Jeannie's saying there are some around here who deer hunt and or wild turkeys and then eat their meat, not to waste it. Yes, that's why I specifically said trophy hunting rather than hunting. I don't know if you heard that. Um, there's a difference between recreational trophy hunting, where I'm going to kill this for the head or the pelts or whatever, as opposed to I am hunting to get the meat that will then feed my family. Yeah, I think there's a difference myself. Now, and the difference, I think, to a large extent, is that people who hunt for meat, um, are doing it in a more ethical way, in my view. I'm not mad about it, quite honestly, but is it? Think about this. How many of you think that hunting for deer and so forth should be banned as well? Because if you do, then what about abattoirs? Think about that. Is hunting to eat a bad thing? I don't think it can be. No. It's part of life. We have to eat, and we eat meat. So unless we ban all meat, I don't see it's something I would talk about. Now, this one is a little bit confusing, but I read somewhere that if you pursue happiness, that is not necessarily an adult behavior. It's sort of like instant gratification stuff, right? Whereas if you seek to define your mission and you pursue that, that is a different story. That is adult behavior. So, for example, I think I've discussed this with you. I wrote my own epitaph. I wrote what I would like them to be able to write on my tombstone if I ever have one, which I choose not to have, but never mind. And I said that I would like them to be able to say about me that here lies Sal, who cared enough to share, shared enough to make a meaningful difference, and by so doing, became a gentle giant inside. It wasn't about money, it wasn't about fame, it wasn't about, all those things. It was like just the small things. And what I have done is lived a life um, sharing what I know, caring enough to share, and then sharing enough to make a meaningful difference. And so every night when I go to bed, I feel good. Did I share enough did I care enough to share today? Yep. Uh, and the other thing is it brings me happiness, but it also determines my whole life. All right. I know that at least 2 days a week, my kitchen's going to be tidy. How many of you see the humor in that? All right. I never have it on my list to tidy up the kitchen. Why? Because I know at least twice a week, my kitchen is going to be tidy. Isn't that funny? And it's just like, oh, it's it's nearly the weekend. That's good. My kitchen will be tidy and clean. Can you see the humor of it? And by following my mission, it achieves that. Um, so I don't go out a great deal and do a lot of things. I spend my time researching for things like this. This takes time. But to me, it's not wasted time. It's wonderful time. And, I've always said if it helps one person, if one broadcast helps one person, it was worth the time. And it's my hobby. Yeah. Jeannie's saying they're going back on the question that we said earlier as well. There are too many deer in places, so hunting is allowed. Of course, it's called culling. It is, and it's the same reason why hunters are only allowed to start hunting in late September, or in September rather. It's like controlled when you can go out and kill things. Yeah, Jeannie, good point. Culling is very much an important thing. So, do you pursue happiness, or do you have a mission in life that you follow? And I think if you're just pursuing happiness, your personal happiness, you don't think about others as much, right? Think about that. So, when you look at happiness, I think it's I do ask myself every day, what do you want to do today to make you happy? But that's in between doing the other things that's part of my mission. As you know, I walk into every day before I leave my bathroom, I look at it and go, does it make you happy? Well, it's a bit untidy. Oh, then tidy it up. And spend another 5 minutes tidying it up. And I go, now, does it make you happy? Yep. Okay, fine. Before I leave my bedroom, does it make you happy? Does it look like a hotel bedroom? Yes. Good. Well done. And now even my craft room is beginning to get there. I mean, it's about 3/4 of the way there. I'm so excited. And I'm probably about 2/3 of the way in my studio. It makes me happy. But it's part of my bigger mission, right? To get unpacked. All right. So Jeannie's saying that she's saying that I do make a difference in other people's lives by sharing. You teach and we learn. Well, I want to tell you something. I'd like to suggest that I remind myself as much as I remind you. And you guys teach me so much as well. And don't think it's a one-way trade, Jeannie, because I'm not that noble. Yeah, Nyasha's saying, I'm a realist, so I look for the truth in everything, whether it brings me happiness or not. Once it's not real, I'm not going to be part of it. Yeah, that's an incredible discussion. So did you tune into the beginning of the broadcast, Nyasha, or just later? The reason I'm saying that is because all the points are there to help you. Now, the next question that I wanted to ask about being an adult, do you use the word I a lot? Or do you think more globally in the we? Or, in other words, you can say I think X, Y, and Z, but then continue to say, but I do know others that think this, that, and the other. All right, so just get that balance going. It's the same as if you are in business, right? The word I, the letter I isn't in the word team. So any person who considers themselves to be a manager and is always talking about, well, I do X, Y, and Z, they're discounting the rest of the team. And if you're talking about a family dynamic, if you're talking about, well, I said so, why do we have to do X, Y, and Z? Well, because I said so. Doesn't give the rest of the family a voice. And I really admire families that are strong enough and humble enough, if you like, to be able to have family discussions about the rules for the family. I think that's really important. Yeah. Judy is saying that she believes that the Almighty, asks us to help others to make the world a better place. Yes. And again, a lot of these rules are part of your faith. For any of you who have faith, all right, a lot of these things I'm talking about that are adult behavior are part of the rules of your faith. And there's a reason for that. All right, think about others, do unto others. All right, so do I use the word I a lot? Yeah, all right, fine. I'm not going to score myself on that one. I try not to, but a lot of the way in which I teach is by example from my own life. And therefore, I do believe I use the word I a lot. The intent is, yeah, never mind. The answer is, yeah, I do. All right, now here's the next question. Do you give compliments at least as often as you complain? Now, I don't know, but I had a most wonderful aunt, God rest her soul, but boy, could she complain. And I often wondered, my mom used to tell me she has strength through misery. Do you know people like that? Complaining was the name of her game. And so some people just, live life that way, unfortunately. But it's a pretty childish way to go through life because if you think about it, if you don't like it, do something about it or make a plan. I had another aunt, funnily enough, who absolutely loathed everything to do with America. But she lived in America, you know. And I remember saying to her once, why do you live there? If you hate it so much, if you hate what they stand for so much, why do you live there? Well, that's where I live. And I'm going, so what she wanted was everybody else to change to be more English. Well, they're not English, they're American. Right? She wanted them to have the manners of the Brits. So she wanted them to have the traditions of the Brits. She didn't believe in Thanksgiving, for example. I'm going, it's their country. Anyway, so do you give compliments at least as often as you complain? Yep. Jody says, I give compliments regularly. I complain less than that, I hope. I would say, without a doubt, Jody, knowing you for as long as I have, I very rarely hear you complain. And if you don't do it to me, then I'm pretty sure that you're not doing it to anybody else as well. I make a point of complimenting people, as you know. I make a point of, if I get good service from anybody, I make a point of writing as high up that ladder as I can. If some teller in a store treats me exceptionally well, I won't tell the manager. I will tell the owner of that organization and say, I just want to let you know I was in your XYZ store this week, and you've got a young lady in there called, Peggy, and she treated me with such respect and kindness and da 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 da. And I would like you to know that I will continue to shop there because of Peggy. Why? Because then I know this CEO is going to tell his regional manager, who will then feel good. The regional manager will tell the local manager, who will feel good, who will then tell the manager of the store, who will feel good, who will then tell Peggy and the rest of the team. You see, go as high as you can when you're giving compliments. And I would say, true, if you're going to complain, go as small as you can. Have the courage to complain to the person who did it to you, not way up the line. Unless it's important that you go up the line. So do I give compliments? Yeah, I do. Yeah. All right. This one is a bit more challenging for some people than others. Can you admit mistakes and can you apologize for them? You probably saw my body language there. Um, most of the time, yeah, but I'm not going to give myself a full point on that one. It's difficult, isn't it, to admit your mistakes? Or how about it's difficult to admit that other people make mistakes and so do you, right? We like to think it's only they're the ones that make mistakes, and we're inclined to forget our own, aren't we? And so I'm a great believer. You've heard me tell many, many stories about this, which is, I don't believe the guy that hit me when I was driving last week. I'm just giving an example. Woke up in the morning and said, I think I'm going to find Sal. And when I do, I'm going to smash into her car. You see, I think it is an accident. I think it's a mistake. Yeah. Junie's saying she went out for lunch in a restaurant recently and her waitress was quite pleasant. At the end of the meal, I asked to speak to the manager in order to give this girl a compliment. And she was so pleased. Of course. Uh, Everybody but deserves. Now, I've also been with people who say, I don't do that because that's what they're meant to do. Well, that tells you a lot about the person, right? All right, here's the next question. Do you understand humility? And let me just define it: the quality or state of not thinking that you are better than other people. All right. Can you see people as your equal, regardless of their upbringing, schooling, um, ethnic, you name it, religion? Can you see people as equal? And if so, you're pretty adult. No, a lot of you will say yes, but then here's the other side to that. Turn the mirror, if you will, for a second, and just check in with yourself. Do I see myself equal? Do I see myself, as entitled to things as other people seem to be? Do I think that happiness is something I'm entitled to, or is it only for other people with money? Do I see myself as eating well is something I deserve, even though I'm a diabetic? You see, I look at it from all sides, and if we are all equal, then I am equally entitled to have fun and enjoy my life, regardless of my health and my age and my disposition and whatever. Do you understand what I'm getting at there? So it's an interesting one. Are you humble enough to see everybody on the same level? I always say about people when they don't necessarily see the same things that I do, I don't see them as stupid. Jody will tell you this, that I quite often will say to Jody, um, remember they haven't had the same opportunity to learn. You're right. They haven't studied these things for as long as I might have done. And therefore, it's not that they're stupid or don't understand, that they haven't had the same experience. That doesn't make them stupid, does it? It makes them on the path. And I do believe that each of us is on their own path. And therefore, it's not for me to rush the path. I believe that it's my job to give more information, and if they're ready to receive it, that's great. A lot of people are not ready to receive it. Doesn't make them slow, doesn't make them stupid. It makes them not ready in their journey to take that next step. The same as I'm not ready in some of my journeys to take the next step, right? It's not just them. So think about that. So do you understand humanity or humility? Sorry. Do you understand what it is to be humble? And do you practice it? How do you score yourself on that? How many more have I got here? Maybe I'll finish it. Can you forgive? Is the next one. Give yourself 1 point if you can. By the way, I then said everything. Can you forgive everything? But on the whole, are you able to forgive people and things? And can you forgive the people who spend money going to the moon instead of uh, stopping world hunger? It's like, can you forgive? Or do you just get tied up in this is how it should be? Have balance, all right? Can you forgive, if somebody murdered a family member of yours, could you forgive the person who did it? Well, maybe I need a 0.5 on that. Yeah, thank you, God. Yep, I'm not good at that one. The reason I say that, I remember when I was working in the prison system to help people, I was able to work with everybody in the prison system except the pedophiles. I just remember turning around and saying, I'm sorry, I find it impossible to forgive. I know that they deserve my forgiveness, but I'm sorry. I am not perfect. I'll help everybody else, but just don't ask me to work with a pedophile, because I don't think I can. I wasn't that holy. Jeannie's interesting. Jeannie's going on a subject, and she's saying, I do have one problem. When they ask for your first name, when you go to a fast food restaurant, I give them my last name. I do not think inbred to let them know my first name and act that familiar. For those people, there are a whole group of people who, you don't call anybody by their first name unless they give you permission. Um, I want to tell you something, Jeannie, that my mother used to, I can always remember a story she told where she was on a train across America one time. She was obviously from England, and she was doing a train trip across America. And the waiter came up to her in the restaurant car and said, "Hi, doll, what's your name?" And she said, "First of all, I'm not a doll. And secondly, this is my name." And she said, "Mrs. Da da da." Da was not her name, but she gave her name. And then he said, "Yeah, yeah, 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 doll." And then she said, "I'm not a doll. And what shall I call you?" And she said, "Mrs. Da." And she was really strong on it. Now, it's not something we do anymore. It was very prevalent at the time. And, a lot of people still believe that. I personally hate to be called Mrs. or Ms. something now. I prefer to be called by my first name. It's funny, isn't it? It's just a different thinking. Does not right or wrong. It's just, I remember that time, Jeannie, where, no way did you call anybody by their first name unless you had been given permission to do that. Right? You didn't presume that at all. All right, so good point. And this one, do you help in the development of people and ideas? In other words, do you foster dignity? And dignity, in case you don't know what it means, is the most basic concept of human dignity, is the belief that all people hold special value, and it's tied to their humanity. It has nothing to do with their class, race, gender, religion, or ability, or any other factors other than the fact that they are a human. Do you help in the development of people and ideas? I can answer that one. All right, so next question. Do you live memorably? In other words, don't be on your deathbed saying, I wish I had whatever. Live a life that is memorable to you, your family, your friends, to the world. All right, if you can. But most important, that is memorable to you. All right. How many of you saw the movie The Bucket List? People who have a bucket list have a much more exciting life than those that don't. Right? They are constantly doing things and achieving things, and even when they're not feeling well, they're still achieving things. It's all within the ability to do that. And I thought the greatest thing was, even when one of the characters died, the son took his ashes to the one place he hadn't been, to make sure that, and that makes me cry. No, I cry when I talk about that. Doesn't make me cry. I believe that was just such a great gift of love. He knew that his father wanted to go there, so he took him there. Do you live memorably? I guess the question is, in the eyes of whom? And I start by going, when I ask myself, have I lived a memorable life? I go, absolutely, I have. And do I intend to continue to do that? Yes, in different ways. Next question. Do you love yourself? Do you love yourself as well or better than you love others? All right. Do you hold yourself as an important person? How do you rate yourself? And the last question is, can you endure? Endure is, can you, let me think about it. If you endure a painful or difficult situation, right? You experience it and you don't avoid it and you don't give up, and usually because you can't, right? Jeannie had to endure what it was like without a house. Why? She didn't have a choice. But she could have had a choice how to cope with it. And she decided to be strong and do the best she could. And she's done a great job. Erin didn't have a choice whether she could use all her muscles or not, right? She endured. She did the best she could with what she had. I think about, if I am so grateful to have had Jody and the rest of you in my life when I got diagnosed with diabetes. Why? You made having diabetes an interesting process for me, that I learned I could stretch the envelope here and there. Stretched it a bit too far recently, and now it's Halloween time. Never mind. So I will pay the price. And it's like I am adult enough to know that I am not perfect. And it's okay, I will do my best. And so I look at it and go, if you could answer yes to most of these, all right, then you're pretty adult. I'm just going to see what my score was. If you've been counting, feel free to count it up. You don't have to share it. It might be easy if I do that the old-fashioned way. I've got this on a spreadsheet, so I'm going, why don't I just let the spreadsheet count it up? Why am I trying to do it in my head? Okay. So I'm not sure how many questions I asked, but um, I actually did better than I thought I did. So but but it still leaves huge room for improvement, right? Jody's saying, I enjoyed these thought-provoking questions. Well, I thought I might do more of these sort of little check-ins, right? Because I think it helps us all see what is adult behavior and what is childish behavior. Adult behavior is being accountable, being responsible. Adult behavior is being fair to both sides. Adult behavior is being able to see outside the box. Adult behavior is to have compassion for others. Adult behavior is to understand not all people think the same way, and that's okay. Adult behavior is not everybody understands where you're coming from. Adult behavior is understanding that life is not fair. Adult behavior is just dealing with what is and not what should have been. So hang in there. Yeah, Jeannie's saying, I surely can endure. Yes, and I've got lots of examples of where I can endure as well, but not as many as some of you. And I don't necessarily want to qualify either, if you get my drift. So think about that. All right. I hope that it gave you a little bit of food for thought. I'm off to dinner now to have Chinese, and one of the regular Chinese feasters has his birthday today, so I've got my card and everything ready. So there we go. I hope that you had some fun. I hope it made you think. I hope that it made you smile. I look at it and go, none of us is perfect. We're all a work in progress, aren't we? This is DearMamaSal saying the way we cope with stress tells people a lot about ourselves. The way we are able to handle our stress also signifies how adult you are. If you are stomping your feet like a 3-year-old, then you understand that is not high on the adult behavior scale. But if you need to vent and have a cry, there's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't make you anything other than human. But if you want to dwell in it, if you want to spend days crying, days complaining, days doing, then that is not adult behavior. That is not emotionally intelligent. This is DearMamaSal saying, have a great week. Make sure that you understand everybody you meet is traveling their own path, and it's not all the same path. They're traveling theirs, and you are traveling yours. We each have our own path to take because we all have different lessons to learn. This is DearMamaSal saying, I love you dearly. Thank you so much for being here. We'll catch you on Friday, God willing, and have a great week until then. Happy Halloween, everybody. Bye-bye for now. Thanks, Jody.